All right, let's do it. Let's talk about this. Very, very disappointing game. Very, very disappointing if you are a Knicks fan. Wow, 121-91 was the final score in Detroit. And I want to hear from you guys in the chat. Hit me up because I know a lot of y'all Knicks fans were really anticipating, really looking forward to this one. And I was on TV the other day on SNY, shameless plug. And shout out to the anchor on the show, Nikki Lauderulo, who posed the question. She said, Monday night, this was Saturday night. She's like, Monday night litmus test for the Knicks. And I said, hold up. It's not a litmus test for the Knicks. The last I checked, the Knicks beat the Pistons in the playoffs last year. They packed them up in round one. Jalen Brunson sent those dudes home in Detroit. So this wasn't Harvey Cruz. Shout out Harvey, my man. Bart Scott wants a word with me. Yo, if Carlin's feeling sick in the morning, Carlin, if you got a couple sniffles that you don't feel comfortable pulling up to work with, let me know, man, because Bart's going to be on one tomorrow. We had the Cade Cunningham, Jalen Brunson argument a ton. So, yeah, we can get to it, man. So I said it's not a litmus test for the Knicks. It's a litmus test for the Pistons because the Pistons in the regular season have more to prove in this head-to-head matchup. They're coming for the Knicks crown. They're the number one seed right now. And we still, while we are impressed by the growth of this team, Jaden Ivey's back. Cade Cunningham is like becoming a superstar. And, we love what JB's done with this group. It still remains to be seen if they are on the same tier as the Knicks. But with all that said, you lose by 31 to a team on the second night of a back-to-back. They're without three of their rotation players, including two starters, in Duran and Harris. And then you have LeVert coming off the bench. He didn't play. So that type of performance in this spot where you had already lost 3 straight games is alarming because for the better part of, 35 games into the season, I've been raving about this team, the Knicks. Their most impressive trait was the bounce back ability. Up until Friday night in that loss to Atlanta, they hadn't had a losing streak since Halloween. So this was a team that did not allow defeat to linger in that locker room. And they just came out hungry, played with desperation, and you'd see them punch teams in the mouth fresh off of a loss. So now you get lit up in San Antonio in a game they led by as many as 19 points. Champagne just became Steph Curry from 3. Atlanta, you can excuse because Cat, Mitchell Robinson, and Josh Hart didn't play. But what's the excuse Saturday night at home against the Sixers? A Sixers team that's now beaten the Knicks twice at the Garden. The Knicks have 4 home losses. 2 of them have come against Philadelphia, and Maxey was by far the best player on the floor. He even had VJ Edgecombe look too damn comfortable. Joel Embiid, a guy who just couldn't move, couldn't jump. They played with no force against him. They didn't make Embiid play with physicality. I would have loved to see them go at him. Couldn't move. And then tonight, the Pistons had 11 blocks, 12 steals. And I guess we call it stocks now. So what it shows you is a couple of things. One, that Knicks defense, disastrous. Since the start of December, they have been a bottom third defense in the NBA. And that's not all because Josh Hart's not out there. Josh Hart is an important player. He's the glue guy. He hits timely shots, and then of course the hustle can flip a game momentum wise. But they're not this bad because of Josh Hart's injury. Their defense is abysmal. And teams are just having their way with the Knicks. So you had 16 more threes hit against them tonight. And you just look at some of these point totals. During the 4-game losing streak, you gave up a buck 34 to San Antonio. You gave up a buck 11 to the Hawks, a buck 30 to Philadelphia, and then a buck 21 to the Pistons, which would have been even worse had they not been up 30 and cleared their bench. And so you should be concerned. You ought to be. And people want to say the regular season doesn't matter. I think it does for a team that is unproven as far as winning a championship. And that's what the Knicks are. And I also put tremendous stock in playing the biggest games of a series at MSG, where they're 15-4. And being at every playoff game the last 3 years, last 4 years actually, I just believe, especially those young teams that come up in there with something to prove, it can be daunting. And that's why I've said the Knicks, you got to get that 1 seed. It's still early in the season, but we're almost at the halfway part, at the halfway mark. It kind of gets lost because we're in football mode, still waiting for something to happen in baseball. We're 36 games into the year. So we're almost at the halfway part, at the halfway mark of the season. The All-Star breaks next month. So you take a look at the standings. The Knicks are 4 games behind Detroit. They'll play them 2 more times. So there's a bit of a runway here, but they're now the 3 seed because all of a sudden, you see the Celtics lately? Jaylen Brown had 50. We just scored 50 against the Clippers. And now you're just Philly's got 14 losses. The Knicks have 13 losses. So seeds 3 through, how about that? Seeds 3 through 8. Knicks, Raptors, Sixers, Magic, Heat, Cavs, separated by 4 losses. So again, you still have 47 games left on the season. So you don't want to overreact and do too much of like standings watch in January. But Detroit at 27-9, looking this good and pounding you without 2 of their starters tonight and 1 bench player, that's significant. Because on the flip side, had the Knicks done this to the Pistons, smoked them by 30, every Knicks fan would be treating this like case closed. We beat them in the playoffs last year. We smoked them as they were positioning themselves to be crowned as the best team in the East. We smoked them. So if that was going to be the story, had the opposite happen, we just got to be fair and give the Pistons their credit because it's been an unbelievable start. Unbelievable start to the season. Cade Cunningham was in complete control. Jalen Brunson, he was limping around. It just feels to me, and we've seen some of the worst parts of this Knicks team, not just defensively. A lot of these possessions just end with Jalen Brunson's shots. We know he's an elite scorer. No one is questioning that. But the rest of the team, you had 3 shot attempts for OG tonight, 4 shot attempts for Cat, and then 11 for Bridges. So Brunson, 21 shot attempts, which was, let me try to do quick math, 7 to just as much, or just as many, I should say, as the rest of the starting 5. 14, 18, 21. Yep. So OG Cat, Mitchell Robinson, and Bridges. 21 shot attempts. Brunson, 21 shot attempts. And obviously, he's the best scorer on the team. He's one of the best scorers in the league. So it makes sense to run your offense through him. But my point is the Jalen Brunson or bust offense is just not going to work for 4 playoff rounds. He had 6 turnovers, 0 assists. 0 assists. And then you see on the other side of the floor, the game plan for the Pistons was to just pick on him defensively. Jose in Brooklyn, what up? ESPN New York needs Ty to host post-game reaction with the fan. Yo, I'm with it, man. Hit up John Winthrop on Twitter. Let him know. That's what the people are looking for. Benji, 19831. Benji R 19831. What up, Ty? What's popping? Hit me up. I want to hear from y'all in the comments. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter. Subscribe to the YouTube page, Ty D. Butler. Talking Knicks basketball right now. They got annihilated in Detroit. And what I thought was the most anticipated game for this team up to this point. And when I say for this team, both teams. The Pistons, this was one they had circled on that calendar. After what they had happened to them in Game 6 last year, where Brunson just put it on Arthur Thompson to end that series. Especially how they started this year, wanted to prove themselves, wanted to prove that graduation was legitimate. This was a game they had circled on their calendars. It's a 1-point game after the first quarter, and then for the next 3 quarters, it was all Detroit Pistons. All Pistons. Because the Knicks can't guard anyone. And tonight, no one outside of Brunson looked too interested in having an impact on offense. Now, Deuce came alive late, but the game was already over. It was already over by then. So you just try to tally up what are some red flags as we near the halfway mark of the season. One is they need another shot creator. Who is going to emerge as that guy? A shot creator who can get the other pieces involved. Because when I look up and I see shot attempts for OG 3, Cat 4, that's just not good enough, man. That's not good enough at all. How does that happen? OG and Cat combining for 7 shots in a basketball game is just inexcusable. And Brunson was hot early, but I would just like to see that offense be a little bit more fluid. I would like to see a lot more of these guys get engaged because that stuff translates to the opposite end. And you'll always hear broadcast, the analysts will talk about how, when you get guys engaged early on offense, it helps them defensively. Now, the Knicks just might not be a good defensive team because they have holes on this roster. You can attack Brunson. You can attack Towns. You can attack Kolick. You can attack Jordan Clarkson. These are guys you can go at. But it's got to be better than this. So you have some adversity early, man. You have some adversity early, which I guess adds some fun for us to just talk about. Because when they were rolling teams, there was just not a lot of conversation to be had. But low adversity early, and we'll see if they can recover from it. But it's going to start on defense. It is going to start on defense. 4-game losing streak. Here are the opposing scores. San Antonio, $134. Atlanta, 111. No Trae Young. Philly put up $130, and Detroit, $121. Which, again, would have been more points had they not been blowing you out. So they've got a home game against the Clippers. The Clippers who have actually been playing a lot better of late. The Clippers were a disaster to start the season. They've now won 6 of 7 games. They got blasted by the Celtics a couple of nights ago. They're actually about to tip off against the Warriors. So you'll have the Clippers in town on Wednesday. And then you're in Phoenix. Phoenix playing a lot better too. In Portland, in Sacramento, in Golden State. This was supposed to be like the soft part of the schedule for the Knicks. Atlanta, Philly, and Philly. Not that Philly is bad, right? Because they're starting to play better. But this was supposed to be the soft part of the schedule coming up. And you'll get some of those easy games. Portland, like you'll get them twice. Sacramento, one of the worst teams in the NBA. So that's still on the table. The Nets have picked up a couple of wins lately. It's just disappointing to see them be this bad on defense. And if Brunson just has a night, and tonight he was really good on offense, but if Brunson has a night where he struggles, it feels like because of no one else stepping up, the Knicks just have no chance. Any thoughts on Dolan's comments today? Pretty interesting stuff, big picture. Yeah, so Dolan went on Carton show this afternoon. And Dolan obviously doesn't do interviews. So it was pretty interesting to see him, talking publicly. Leon Rose doesn't talk. So some of the big takeaways, like they brought up the Giannis trade, and he pretty much shot it down. Says they love the team. He loves the locker room, and he says Leon can overrule him, but he doesn't see them making a big change, which that's significant, right? The Knicks struggling right now maybe opens the door a little bit to the revival of those Giannis trade rumors. The deadline's next month, but what it sounds like is they want to keep this team, maybe add some, pieces around. Shaman will come back, Harder come back, but the Giannis thing, he pretty much shot down. He says he believes this group could win a championship. That's what he says. He does not believe that they are going to make a big move. Also talked about Tom Thibodeau. Gave him a lot of credit, man, as he should. Let's not forget, and people were ready to run Tibbs out of town last year. They grew tired of his, rotations, running guys into the ground. All of that, cool, whatever. Let's not pretend like he didn't usher you to your most successful season in a quarter century. Let's not pretend like he didn't help put y'all back on the map. It started with Tibbs and Julius Randle. So had his message grown stale? Did you need a new voice? Or it could maybe it's not that. Did you need someone? There's always someone's going to take you from point A to point B, but B is not going to be the ultimate destination. B is fine for now, because you look at what the Knicks were prior to Tibbs. Getting to B, that's a ginormous leap. Now B to C, trying to win a championship, you need a different person. And they felt like they needed to go in a different direction. James Dolan, the team is built on the shoulders of Tom Thibodeau. He built that core. We needed to evolve. We tried to work that with Tom. Really wasn't his thing. You have to home grow. Tom liked development, but I won't say you can't win a title with Tom. So they wanted it to be a more collaborative effort. And Tibbs wasn't going for that. Tibbs was a my way or the highway type of dude. That's what it sounded like became a contentious point for the regime. He was stubborn in his ways, and he's an old school coach, so not surprising that he was resistant to whatever they deem to be evolving. But he said beyond old traditional coaching formulas, they tried to work with him, and it really wasn't his thing. That's what he said. Not that you can't win a title. I won't say you can't win a title without Tom Thibodeau. I don't know if that's necessarily true. It's just that a long-term competitive compete, you need somebody who is much more of a collaborator. Tom's still a great coach. You should coach again in the NBA. If I had a franchise I was just starting with, he would be a gold mine to get, which the Knicks thought that back in 2019, 2020. And he was like that for us when he first started, which he then acknowledges. He brought discipline, he brought strategy, he brought us all that way, but we really feel like we needed a change to go the rest of the way, which is what put a lot of pressure on Mike Brown coming into this job. It's like a plug and play. It's Steve Kerr, it's Aaron Boone. There's really no margin for error. It's go win right now. We think we can win a championship right now. Get to it. Benji's like, your take that you wanted Tibbs like coach for the Giants and Jets is also spot on. Yeah, I said this about the Giants because it's so funny how many people try to poo-poo, Mike McCarthy. Well, Mike McCarthy only won one Super Bowl. And if you're a Giant fan, sitting on the worst record in football since 2017, the idea that you are too good for Mike McCarthy, who's won, 61% of his games, is insanity. So that's the point I was making. And I use Tom Thibodeau as the example of someone who gets a team back on the map, who gets you back to relevancy, who establishes you as just, a force. We worry about being a championship contender when we get there. But for right now, I mean, let's just get to where we can be taken seriously. And that's what Tibbs did for the Knicks. So it was interesting to hear Dolan, who does not do media. The Knicks, brass, they don't do media. It was interesting to hear him talk on Carton's show on FAN this afternoon. Also said they're going to raise a banner. They're going to raise an NBA championship banner. That's the banner they want to raise. So there will be no NBA Cup trophy banner. So the Knicks tonight, longest losing streak since December of 2022. So you got to go back 3 years and some change. They've trailed by at least 19 in the second half of their last 3 losses. 2-4 without Josh Hart. One of the worst NBA defenses during that span. Shout out to Ian Begley for the Nuggets there. I appreciate y'all. I wanted to hop on here real quick. I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, we'll do more of a deeper dive into Knicks Pistons. I was excited for this game. Got really let down because of the lack of urgency, effort. There was just something missing about the Knicks tonight. That performance was not one that I expected. I thought they would come out, try to make a statement, punch the Pistons in the mouth, show them, we're still here, this is still our conference. And they just didn't do that. And it felt like opening tip that the Pistons just had an extra bounce. They were on every loose ball. Defensively, they just swarmed them. They ended up with 11 blocks and 12 steals. So that length was just giving the Knicks some issues and just got whatever they want on offense because the Knicks defense since the start of December has been bottom third in the NBA. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Measured analysis. Shout out to you, Benji. Shout out Jose. Shout out Harvey and all the listeners. Ty D Butler is where you can find me on all the social media platforms. I'm going to be back tomorrow morning. We're going to do some more of the Knicks conversation. I'll also probably stream getting into the NFL. Playoffs start this weekend. So my man Aaron Rodgers getting it done. Big game. Lamar Jackson. Big game Lamar Jackson. He does perform well in big games. Shout out to y'all. Holla at your boy. I'll be back tomorrow. Peace and love.